Welcome back to the channel. I'm Daniel, and for the purposes of today's episode, I am a three-time failure, as far as I know. I've probably failed maybe a few more times, but not quite as many as I thought. Okay, if you were one of the people, one of the few, who watched my History of Hit series, I've been doing hit since 1985, and the first 3 years of my pursuit with high intensity training, I thought I was training to failure. The only information I got for failure, momentary muscular failure, was in the Darden books at the time. I had honestly only ever heard of it once as a gymnast. I remember I was in 10th grade and this guy came and did a presentation about strength training on it. And at the end of it, the top gymnast in our team said, I'm not doing anything about training to failure. Or I'm not doing anything to failure. Um, that was the first time I even heard of the concept, and that was the first time I also heard of the concept of I don't want to do anything that has to do with failure. Those two happened at the same time for me. So that was kind of locked in a little bit. I've noticed I've been blinking my eye, and I think I've discovered why. I'm going to go tomorrow and check if I have slightly detached retina. It's not just the light. All right. So my first 3 years, I trained pretty much right out of the advanced Nautilus bodybuilding book. Hold on. Excuse me. The um the routines in there fit all of the equipment I had or that was available to me. Um, and I kind of like the idea, and also it was that time when Nautilus people had a fascination with the duo squat. Duo squat was presented as a magical machine, as magical as the pullover was, and so most of you who were from that old time, y'all remember the whole duo squat magic. And it was fun, but it was not as productive of a machine. I still think it was productive, but it's much less desirable than other ones. Okay, after my first 3 years at, actually, I think it was closer to 4 years, 4 years of training. During that time, before, uh, I was using different equipment from different places and trying as hard as I can. Muscular effort, psychological effort. I thought I was training intensely. I really thought I was. Um, Most people, when they're introduced to high intensity training, they read about it. You read uh, outright hard work, as Arthur said. Pretty much everything about work hard, intensity. It takes effort and intensity. Everything tied to momentary muscular failure was tied to your mind, more so than to the muscle. And so people, me included, at first, you go into a warrior mindset and you attack the effort. You use your fight mode and fight or flight. Um, Unfortunately, most people, they start in fight mode, but as the momentary muscle failure gets closer and closer, they change over to flight mode and I can't do anymore. I think that's what's going on there. The flight mode does happen frequently in momentary muscle failure. You start in fight and you end in flight. In the beginning, the first year or two. It takes a while and it takes a lot of training and practice to move out of that. Fight and flight are outroading behaviors. They are behaviors that remove the effort to your muscles. They disperse the effort, not concentrate and focus the effort. So it takes some practice to get through that. The first time I actually achieved I'm 99.9% sure that I actually achieved momentary muscle failure was the fifth or sixth workout at Gainesville Health and Fitness when I started working there. And once a week, I would go down the main line just to get the idea of it, listen to what the other instructors were saying and doing, and try to incorporate those. Um, Leg extension, leg curl. We usually started with a set of chins, just that's what we would do. So chin ups, leg extension, leg curl, pull over, arm cross, chest press, lateral raise, overhead press, plate loader bicep, plate loader tricep, then leg press. That was the typical workout we did. Sometimes we would do um, seated row at the beginning. I got to plate loader bicep. I was already pretty well fatigued, pretty deeply tired and breathing heavy. And the other one of the other instructors had set up the machine for me, and I was starting on it. They went to go set up for other people. We would do that, and I'm working on it. Hands here, doing uh, play loader bicep. I was on like my third or fourth repetition, and this was normal speed. My normal speed, even back then, was much, much closer to slow. It was not super slow, but it was. I usually did about a four up, four down, somewhere around there. Rarely did I do 1-1 or even 2-4. I mostly did 4-4. So I'm working in the, and I'm towards the middle of my set. And Mark Mink saw me, comes over, and he calmly talks me through the set. Now he's watching around to see how everybody's doing. I don't remember if he was the floor instructor that day or the general manager, but he just stopped by and instructed me through the set. And he talked calmly, directly to my actions, everything perfectly. Um, about the 10th repetition, ninth or 10th, the the movement just stopped, and it was not the burning had been happening just like normal, but the movement just stopped, and I pulled hard, and he coached me. I pulled hard as I could against it, and I got it almost to here. Usually on momentary muscle failure, you kind of think you fail at the beginning. You don't fail there, but I was like right, almost fully contracted. He didn't touch me, didn't help me, didn't no extra effort. He focused my mind on the effort at that point. And so I said, all right, slowly let it down and let it down, slowly let my hands out. When I went to the next exercise, it was already set up. Um, I put my hands in for tricep extension, plate loader bicep, and my biceps were so toasted from that one set, I could not initiate the the start of the repetition. Um, I said, okay, I'm done. I reached down to go take the weight off the machine, and it was the small plates at that time. Um, uh, I could not grasp. I could not operate my hands correctly or my grip correctly to grasp the the plate, and my biceps were just so toasted they weren't operating, and they weren't. They were just like the normal feeling a muscle gets, but this was deep. This was not any extra effort, no drop sets, no extended reps, no thorough inroad, no 20, 30 seconds of continued effort until it just starts dropping. None of that. This was just pure straight. Uh, and I even went over, tried leg press. I realized that one set of biceps had toasted not just my biceps, but my whole body. Everything was done. I was done with that workout. Um, it was probably, like I said, the first time I truly achieved momentary muscular failure. About a year later, um, I had been working up in the physical therapy clinic with Charlie Baird, and he set me up in the Medex lumbar extension. We would do it separately from everything else, just out of convenience. You can't, when it's up in the PT area, you can't just go up there during your workout and interrupt the patients and get in a set. So we would have to do it in a lull time in the physical therapy work. So I'm doing my uh, low back, and around by this time I had gotten used to it, and I was already probably a little close to super slow, and already doing some things. So by the sixth or seventh rep, I could feel the deep fatigue starting in. Now, usually on momentary muscular failure on the MedX machine, most people will get it started on a repetition, and I think that's some of the stored energy from their body. Some of you old timers about MedX and Nautilus had learned about stored energy, the compression of tissues. I think most of that is the stored energy, and then once the stored energy of their tissues has been used for that, they have nothing left. Anyway, and this time I was almost all the way back, and there's a spot in the motion where I have an injury that I can feel it, but it's not bad. Got past that, and I got almost all the way to the, let's see, almost to full extension, a little bit past halfway, and I pushed as hard as I could against that and could not move. Came back down. I don't have much stored energy tissues to do that with, but I could not even lift it off the stack, and I tried for a little bit. Got me out, and when I stood up, I was kind of like this, like wobbly, and at first I thought it was my legs, and then I realized my back was so fatigued. It didn't hurt at all, but it was so fatigued I had trouble keeping my torso right. I was like this, and it took me a while to just be settled and calm down and let the back take over. Um, I didn't do another lumbar extension for about 2 weeks after that. Um, and it had the same effect. My whole body, I was going to work out later that day, and I realized, no, this was enough. This was enough for today. One set, one set. The third time was with Josh Miller. He and I were I think this was 98 actually, 98 or 99. He and I were experimenting with classical consolidated, not consolidated, but just three basics: leg press, chins or row, chest press, or we did incline press. Those we would switch back and forth, but always hammer leg press. On this day, started on hammer leg press and ended. um, Josh was really good at talking, at saying the words I needed to hear. And he didn't push me. He was always calm, focused. Do this, think about this. And we were doing super slow at the time. I got 4 reps and could not even contract another. Uh, he had me back off, try again. I got half a one, pushed into it a little bit, came back. I could not stand up. I could not stand up for 5 minutes. He had to help me into the next, just sit into the next exercise next beside me, and I decided, nope, I'm done. That one set of leg press, I could not stand up completely for about 10, 15 minutes. And the first time, probably in the history of Gainesville Health and Fitness, this was this other new building, I finally had to use the elevator. I had never used it before. And I had to wait probably 2 hours to go home because I had a clutch car. I started to try, I tried. I could not even get it out of the parking lot. I think one of my friends took me home, which was pretty close that day. And then later that evening, I came back and got the car. But anyone who has done leg press that well knows what I'm talking about. You can't operate your legs. They're just not. They don't work. Uh, Minor effort just is gone, and it takes sometimes with that level of effort 3 or 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, for you to be able to operate the muscle correctly again. It's weird. So those are the three times I'm 99.9% sure I got to momentary muscle failure. And what was significant about these is each one of those I recognize as the ultimate level of my effort. This was either momentary muscle failure or so close to it I could not tell the difference. But what I knew for certain, well, as close to certain as you can be, this was my measuring stick. This was the tool of how hard I could work, how hard I was able to work. And I'm sure other factors were going on those days. We didn't track heart rate variability and all that, but it may have been at its best. My cognitive perceptions and everything may have been at their top. My mind muscle hookup may have been at its most efficient and peak time of the day. Whatever, everything may have just come together on those days, on those exercises, and enabled me to do my effort. So that was one thought: is our bodies and minds may enable us or inhibit us. But I realized all of the other times I had trained, the thousands of other exercises I had done, them, not millions, but thousands of other exercises, hundreds of other workouts, those were the only three times I had actually achieved what I think is close to true momentary muscle failure. I don't know if it was complete. I don't know, but it felt pretty close. The significance about this is it was that one set each time was it. That was the end of the workout. And on the leg press one, it was the only exercise of the day, and I was done. I couldn't even consider doing chest press and pull down. So that day, 1998, to be honest, was the last day I ever even bothered to train to failure. Some of you already know I do not train to failure anymore. I go close to it, but not anywhere near to that level. Probably not to the high intensity training level that some of you attempt to do. Um, it my level of effort may be more than newbies because I know how to focus and know how to control, but probably not as much as the advanced people. And the reason for this is I just don't really see it. Number one, see it as necessary. Number two, if it's not necessary, I don't need to do it. Number three, if I can still get results without doing it, I'm going to do probably that way. For a couple of reasons, I seem to recover a little quicker, obviously. There are a ton of other reasons, but the main thing is, without an instructor there, it is unlikely I would ever even get close to those levels. And I see this in other people. I watch this when I was a trainer all the time. I could easily get someone to failure. The hard part was knowing when not to, and that takes experience. But I could easily get someone to momentary muscle failure calmly, focused, and when they did, they knew they were floored. Some of you HIIT enthusiasts have similar experiences. You may have been through workouts on your own. You may have done a couple of years of workouts, and then you have an opportunity to go through a trained workout. A qualified, experienced instructor takes you through, and you realize, wow, I was not working hard before. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Even advanced trainers will have this experience. They will go through many years and then have another experienced trainer, maybe take them through as a demonstration. And you got a crowd there, an experienced instructor, you got a lot more motivation to do it. And I've heard some of these instructors comment after that, with just a few of us together, wow, I need to work harder in my own workouts. There's a certain level that is hard to pass. I don't know what that is, where it is, but there is a certain level of effort that is just extremely difficult to get past without an instructor's help. So that is the story of my failure. Uh, 3 times. I wish it was a lot more so I could have more information about the sensation, about the mind, what goes on, about the body, about the the after reaction. Um, but those 3 times were unlike any of the other momentary muscular failure I ever. I, none of the other ones were pretty much volitional fatigue. It was more than I can't do anymore. It was an attempt, and off. But it did not have the same muscular reaction that those 3 times did. So my journey to failure is over. I don't have a need to do it anymore. I will probably, I'll probably come close. What I will do, what I do, is I choose the same exercises or close to the same exercises that HIT people do. Do I do more than one set? Occasionally, not always, but occasionally. Um, I do 2 sets when I can tell I was not able to get a good enough stimulation to the muscle, usually because of my shoulder injury or low back. Um, those are inhibiting factors you have to work around, but that's different. On my healthy muscles, on my healthy body, yeah, I probably could, but I don't need to. Um, I would rather focus my effort, good quality repetitions, good quality effort, but not full out effort, and continuous effort over a long period of time. Um, it's arguable whether or not I can improve my effort. I'm going to go more into the next episode of why I think it might be necessary to avoid momentary muscle failure, trying it all the time. The some of you already know my main premise, but with, basically it's possible that the body is recovering from something else. The muscles may have long recovered, but the body is recovering from something else. It takes longer. It's not central nervous burnout. That's something different. Has nothing to do with that. I'll go over a little more in detail what I speculate. Or actually, I suspect it's a little higher than speculate. And I'll tell about my reasonings, and hopefully some people in the comments will talk about that. But if you, as an experienced HIIT enthusiast, have had similar experiences, that your recollection, you realized I have only achieved momentary muscle failure a few times in my HIIT career. If you've had that experience and you realize, tell me about those experiences. Tell me what exercises and what was happening that moment and what the after effect was. And I don't mean the kind of failure where you're just continuously, you're doing drop sets, all this. Those are ways to get over and around failure. Those are, you don't go through failure on those. You jump over failure and go around it to do all this other stuff. There's one other time I had a complete failure. I don't count this one as it because it was a direct effort. I got on the multi-exercise machine. I was going to do just one exercise, just chins. I started off doing super slow, many as I could, and then sets. I did, I think, 4 sets. I kept trying to do chins until I could not bend my arms anymore. I rested a minute or two, and then did a static hold. Did a static hold at the top until I couldn't consistently hold it there. Rested a minute or two and did static hold here. Rested a minute or two and then a static hold here, just bent arms. And then on to negatives until I could not control it. I wanted to try to just completely deplete my arms and back. My lats were so sore for 2 or 3 days. Now, that was positive failure, static failure, and negative failure. And I had to go beyond. This was kind of started the beginning of my overtraining attempt. It was my first curiosity. I was like, okay, let's do this. Um, my at that time, my typical, I could usually get anywhere from 7 to 9 chins in a row. For about a couple of weeks, I had been doing 9 chins in a row. It depends on if I went to the bathroom or not. I got that day, my first set on the chins, I got 9. 3 days later, it was a Tuesday when I did it. 3 days later, actually it was 4 days, it was a Saturday, I came in and did a test on that machine, just chins. I did 11. So all that work, theoretically, all that just overdoing it should have put me into overtraining. And I may have been in some form of overtraining, but not towards the performance, not towards. And when I do a test of chins up, like this, two up, two down, kind of performative to test, I guess. It's not a good normal thing to do, but it's what I use to gauge my progress on that. Um, with the chins, I don't know what happened there. I'm still kind of curious. But overtraining did not occur. At least as far as I could tell, overtraining did not occur. If anybody has any idea or has tried something like that, I didn't bother trying it with dips because my shoulders would not permit that at the time. I'm curious what would have happened though. If anyone else has tried that, especially with chins and dips, let me know in the comments and let me know what your results were. I think most people actually would get overtrained. I may have some uh, outlier setup in my muscle that allows for different things. Anyway, I hope this has spurred some thoughts. Not whether or not high intensity and momentary muscle failure is good or bad. I'm not talking about that. But I hope it spurred some thoughts about what is happening, when it's happening, what it feels like, how to get there, all that kind of stuff. If you have any questions in the comments, I appreciate everyone who views. Let me get ready here. I appreciate everyone who views and watches the videos, even when you don't comment, don't like. I don't ask like, share, subscribe because it's just not important for this channel. I just want to get this on record. I'll have another channel that does that, but so if you want to, that's fine. I'm not going to ask. Um, I appreciate every one of you who've watched my videos. Thank you very much. I hope you at least think. That's all I hope to do is inspire some thought. Thank you very much. And on the next one, we will go over one thing I think may be happening.